Hello, everybody. Here we are in June, and to start off June is a very important time. People don't realize it that D-Day, June 6th, happens this Tuesday. Now, but a lot of historians and stuff really only talk about the day of, which is very heroic and tragic day. But actually, kind of D-Day started in France on June 3rd. June 3rd, there was a lot of OSS, French resistant fighters and stuff that got the messages over the radio to start preparing and getting ready for the invasion that was coming on the 6th. So, got to think about all these guys. Yeah, a lot of these were civilians. Now, I know the British and Canadian, French, even US dropped people way behind the lines 3 days prior to the invasion. There was even over by, I think it was Gold or Sword beaches, that there was camera teams already on the beach getting ready for the invasion. There was even submarines out in the English Channel that was monitoring the beach. Also, the air forces were flying over reconnaissance and stuff, even bombing and prepping, getting ready, and doing a lot of preemptive evasion strikes north of Normandy. This way, it would throw the Germans off on where we were actually coming from. Weather was a big factor. Now, around June 4th, at night, units of 82nd and 101st Airborne units sent out individuals from Pathfinder teams. These guys wore these insignias down here on the sleeve with their shoulder sleeve insignias. They were sent in behind the lines to mark drop zones, also landing zones for the gliders and stuff that were going in. You know, there's only one glider that's left in existence. Kind of unique in Britain. So these Pathfinder teams were sent out. Sometimes maybe a squad, 5-man team, whoever was left, to send back intelligence, prep the zones with lights, so the aircraft, C-47s, can come in and drop their troops. Now, those guys were in there, and then on the 5th at night, remember, good things don't happen at night. Elements of the 82nd Airborne, the All-American, and the 101st Airborne divisions were dropped in behind the lines. Now, if any of you guys saw The Longest Day, Band of Brothers is the best one. That night before, they were dropped in, and everybody knows it from history and all that. Misdrops, areas were flooded, Germans were marking all the landing zones, DZs, and stuff like that. A lot of glider troops didn't make it, but even elements of the British airborne units flew in, and gliders took bridges, key elements that were around. And 82nd Airborne, Saint-Mary-Glisse, and we all saw what happened there if you watched TV or even did some of your history. But this was under the whole invasion under General Montgomery through the British. Now, I do have a book right here that I'll be glancing down because there's a lot of information. I could probably talk about this without it, but this is important. I want to make sure the facts are right. Now, Montgomery was ahead of the 21st Army Group. This is everybody. So this is from the top down. And Eisenhower and all that was above. Supreme Allied Commander. Now, within there, the U.S. forces were broken into one more group, and this came down to be the First Army. These were all the commanders and chiefs and generals and everybody. So the First Army was then tasked to move in. Their areas were Omaha and Utah beaches. Also within there was the 2nd Ranger Division or Battalion, and they were to take Point du Hoc. Now that was in the middle of Utah and Omaha. The 2nd Rangers, you know, they went in there to take the guns and found out they weren't there and moved in. The sad thing about them, they had to climb these cliffs, come in on these Mike boats, just like you saw the invasion where they run off the boats, scale these cliffs under constant enemy fire, get to the top, take the guns, and secure it. Now, the guns weren't there, but they did move inland and find other artillery units and disable them. But not only were they being fired upon from the Germans, but the American units to the right and left of them really didn't understand what was going on because they were a little late. They were being fired upon too. So, communications. Now, they were broken down from there into 2 corps. The farthest corps to the right, which was on, Utah Beach, which was elements of 7th Corps. 7th Corps is this patch right here. So it broke down from Montgomery to the 1st Army to 7th Corps. Within the 7th Corps, there was elements of the U.S. Army 4th Infantry Division. Poison Ivy. Now it goes this way in an angle, not this way. Elements of the 4th Infantry Division. Within the 4th Infantry Division, you also had the 82nd and 101st on there, but they were also with the Allied Airborne, which also had British, Canadian, French commandos and paratroop units too. From there, you had elements of the 8th, 12th, and 22nd infantry regiments. So it broke down to like 3 more almost divisions, large groups. You had 1 division here, and then they spread out their units to take the beach. There was a lot of inlets and stuff like that, and the elements of the 4th Infantry were to push inland, link up with the towns, bridges, and crossroads of the 82nd and 101st Airborne. That was Utah Beach. Over here on Omaha Beach was broken down to 5th Corps. So you had 7th and 5th as it came down. Under 5th Corps, we had elements of the U.S. Army 1st Infantry Division, Big Red 1. And they really got a shellacking when they came in, like everyone. Also in there, they were broken down into regimental combat teams of 4. You had the 16th, 18th, 115th, and the 116th regimental combat teams, and would come in. We're talking thousands of guys. This is on the first wave. Then, as you move down, and elements under the British 2nd Army, now I don't collect these patches or anything, but I am going to kind of explain them to you. And if one of you guys out there from England, I'm sure you have all this stuff, maybe you can link onto this or go off of this and let information go about that. They were broken down also into corps, which was the British 30th Corps. Probably heard about them, and Market Garden and stuff. From there, they were broken down to the British 50th Infantry Division, down to the 8th, 27th, and 30th Armor Brigades, 151st Brigade, 56th Brigade, the 47th Royal Marine Commandos, 213th Brigade, 69th Brigade, and they were all coming in on Gold Beach, and their job was to push forward and to link to the right to the Rangers and kind of secure that whole coastline. That was another corps. Now, they were also broken down to the far right, which was Sword and Juno. This was the far end down here. On Juno, they were under the British I Corps. The I Corps was broken down to the 3rd Infantry Division, the Canadian 2nd Armor Brigade, elements of the 4th Royal Marine Commandos, the Canadian 9th Brigade, Canadian 7th Brigade, and the Canadian 8th Brigade. And they were coming into Juneau. So you had combined countries right there. Then all the way at the end, the British 3rd Infantry Division. Another big infantry division. Broken down into the British 22nd Armored Brigade, 9th Brigade, 181st, and the 8th Brigade. Under there was also the 1st Special Service Brigade. These were kind of like commandos, and you'd see that patch. It's an arrowhead. Canadian, U.S., British forces. The 4th Canadians came down. Then we also had drops from the British 6th Airborne, 5th Airborne, and 3rd Airborne Brigades. Their job was also to push in and to link up with Juneau. That is the blanketing of the D-Day invasion. Now, everybody knows, and I'm not going to go into this. Sorry, I always do this. But the push in. And if you watch the movies and stuff, it was called the longest day. I mean, imagine. Nobody living today could really imagine what these guys went through. And if you do go back and watch those movies, hopefully tomorrow, kind of think about your grandfathers, your father's grandfather or fathers and great-grandfathers. A lot of these guys never even got off these landing craft. And not only that, it's right now we're still on D-Day plus. Any day after D-Day is plus 1, 2, 3. So we're probably on 50,000. So, and this is always going to move forward that way. But that's a little bit from the U.S. side. But take your hats off to all the French, the Canadian, the Belgian, the British, the American forces. And if I left somebody out, I do apologize, and move forward. And really, almost a year after, World War II came to an end. But there was a lot of fighting and a lot of bloodshed. And if you don't believe me, just Google Earth some of these cemeteries that are over there, and our fellow countrymen are laid to rest there, the heroes of that day. And if you do find someone from World War II, and you know, I left out the Army Air Corps and everything that was support, also the Navy, thousands and thousands of ships. Unreal. To this day, nothing of that magnitude has ever happened again, and hopefully will never happen again. Some people ask, well, we were already on in Europe, why didn't we just move in from Italy? Mountains. You have to come in so you can move material and all that. I mean, they built docks, wharfs, harbors, everything. An endless supply of supplies. And that's what keeps an army going. Gas, food, ammunition, medical supplies, even trucks, rifles, and replacements. You got to replace what is lost or destroyed. So think about it. Maybe do a prayer. Remember, it's not just a day for shopping and partying and all that, but a day of remembrance. So have a good day. A little bit about D-Day. This is probably one of my longest ones yet. But God bless, and all you guys take care.